She's a former journalist and content marketing professional who's fallen in love with Substack, and now she helps brands and high influence individuals develop their Substack strategies. None other than Miss Shaun Chavis. Welcome, Miss Shaun on Abstract Essay, and can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Pleasure. It's such a
Yes,
pleasure to be here. Thank you.
you're most welcome. And can you please introduce more? Something that I missed.
Yes, so you got it all right. I'm a former journalist. I've worked in television news, I've worked in print, newspaper, magazine. I specialized in food journalism. I worked at a cookbook publishing division of Time Inc. I worked for Health Magazine as the diet editor. As a cookbook editor, I edited books for Weight Watchers and Cooking Light. Um, and I've also been a content marketer. I've worked in food, I've worked in health, and now I'm an independent consultant. I offer owned media, content marketing strategies, and I specialize in helping brands incorporate Substack into their brand and content marketing strategies. I fell in love with Substack a little over a year ago. And as I started to see the potential it has to help businesses connect, and you see, think about everything that's happening in the market today. I love what Substack can do, and I think a lot of companies could get a lot out of it. So that's a little bit about me.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Shaun, because here on Abstract Essay, we salute you, we celebrate you
Thank you.
with my cheering squad. What? But my cheering squad is not working. My apologies for that. Instead, the sound is coming out. But anyway, let's talk about something good today. Substack consultant to build a brand on Substack. You've said SEO is dead. That's why we need a Substack strategy. That's a provocative statement, Ms. Sean. What us into it, and what's the fundamental shifted about how people find and trust information online, and why the Substack solve the problem that Google used to solve?
Exactly. So, it's true that SEO, like I wouldn't say dead, but it definitely isn't as important. And certainly you need other tools in your toolbox as a brand or a marketer. Um, so we know that 65% of clicks are now zero click searches. 65% of searches are zero click searches on Google. And that means like people are finding the results they need on the Google search results page, and they're not looking further, like they're not clicking on the results that come up. And then on the flip side, more people are starting to use AI search engines like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Comet, and some of those other Claude, some of those other tools to search. So it's true that SEO is not delivering the results that it used to in terms of getting traffic to your website. We have seen that SEO is helping to drive more qualified leads. So more people who do click, have fewer people clicking through to your website, but the people who do are more likely to want to buy. But you still want to be able to reach more audiences. And SEO is, I mean, everything's changed. AI has changed things. Um, and a lot of people think of AI as being like, they ruined it or they've totally changed everything. I think of AI as like clearing the way for more human connection. So I think I see the positive side of, AI is giving people kind of like the basics of, the first things they want to know when they're researching something. And then if they go further with you, they're really looking for that relationship. They're looking to know more. They want to know that they can trust you with whatever issue they have, whether they're looking for new shoes or they're looking for some kind of wellness product or, whatever. And so I think that now with that dynamic happening, you really have to rise to the challenge of giving people what they want in terms of that. deeper information and that deeper connection and that relationship and building that trust. And that's what I love about what's happening today. I mean, the good news is, even though SEO is not delivering what people, you know, what it used to for brands, people are still searching. Like, people have been searching for 100,000 years. They're still going to be searching 100,000 years from now. People are always going to be looking for something. It's just the way that we look for things is different. So I think, like, if you think of it that way, it helps you go, oh, okay, I just need to switch gears, and it's not as intimidating.
Well said, Miss Sean. Well said indeed. You also say nobody subscribes to a strategy, they subscribe to a person. That's a direct challenge to how most brands think about content. What's the difference between content strategy that works on LinkedIn or a corporate blog versus on one that actually converts on Substack?
Yes. So a lot of people know Substack as a newsletter platform, but Substack is actually a lot more. And one of Substack's strengths that I don't think people are taking as much advantage of is that Substack is a great place to build community. So Substack has its own internal social media platform called Notes. I think of it as kind of being like Threads. Some people think of it as being kind of like Twitter, but to me, it's more like Threads and or Blue Sky. It's kind of like Blue Sky. And so you have that internal social media platform where you can connect with people. And then when you start a Substack newsletter or you're doing a podcast on Substack, you also have like a private chat. You can open that chat, so anybody that those posts go into Notes, and so everybody in the Substack community can see those things in your private chat. Or you can paywall it so that you have just like a closed community, and that can be really helpful, especially if you want to afford people some privacy or create a safe space for people to talk about sensitive topics. But I've seen some Substack creators really take advantage of that tool, that chat, to build community. I write about fashion on my Substack, and so I follow a lot of other fashion Substack writers. And so, as an example, I've seen some who are professional style consultants use their chat to get people talking about what they're wearing. So there's one person I follow in particular. Every Friday, she's like, "Hey, show me your best outfit for the week, or just show me what you're wearing." And she's really transparent about it, right? Like, she's not like, she's the perfect model and she always has the perfect outfit. Some days she was like, look, I just wasn't feeling it. This outfit wasn't working. Here it is. And she, shows how real she is, and that even a professional stylist doesn't get it right all the time. And so it creates this community where everybody else is being vulnerable and asking questions and saying, "Hey, I tried this outfit. It didn't work for me either." And people chime in and support one another, and people start building friendships. That's what really surprised me about Substack. I've made more in person friendships as a result of meeting people on Substack than I have on any other. In fact, I haven't done that on any other social media platform. But on Substack, I've made real in person friendships, just because of the connections that you create on Substack. So it's that powerful. I've seen brands use it to, build brand development. It can become a place where you can do customer discovery. It can be a place where you really kind of find your, like, really true, brand loyal customers, and those are going to be the people who could be potential ambassadors, brand ambassadors for your company. They'll help with word of mouth. You can get good lifetime value from those customers. Like, those are going to be the customers who will keep buying from you and try your new products and talk about you. So it's a really powerful tool, and I think that's what people are missing. And I think, and Daniel, this may be true. You may have noticed this too. I think, like, people now want that. Like, they want connection
Mhm.
and they want community, and that's what Substack lets you create.
Well said, Miss Sean. People need authentic connection indeed. You say that many people think Substack is just a newsletter platform that as you talking about. What is actually and what us or what are the most people missing when they dismiss it's just another email tool?
That's a good question. So last year, Substack got a huge investment, $100 million, and they are now using that to go from being a newsletter platform to they want to be a studio in your pocket. So you can create a newsletter, and you can send, so you, and the cool thing about Substack is you own your newsletter list, you own your email list. So if you just, you can import your email list if you're coming from another platform. If one day you decide, hey, Substack isn't working for me, you can download your email list and go someplace else, right? So you own your email list. So you can
Mhm.
have the newsletter. The newsletter has a home on Substack, so you have kind of like a web page, almost like a blog. And then you have the community attached with your newsletter. You also, so you can like chat, have that chat. You can do live stream events on Substack, and then you can republish those live stream events. You can, so that way you have like a video. You can create excerpts from that live stream event and post those on other channels. Like, they're already built into Substack. You can push out to YouTube. You can push out to LinkedIn right from the Substack platform. Substack also has podcasting. So you can do a podcast inside of Substack. Again, you can push it out to other podcasting platforms like Spotify and YouTube. And then within, the cool thing is, because of the way Substack adds a community, you have like a space to create a community for your podcast. So it doesn't have to be one way communication. You can actually use your podcast to create community and have dialogue with your listeners and viewers, which is really great. So those are some of the ways that you can use the other things that Substack allows you to do. One of the other things that I'm excited about, because my background is in, I have a background in magazine publishing and book publishing. Substack's been adding a lot of tools lately to help you create a newsletter that has more of a magazine feel if you want. So it doesn't just have to be text on a screen. You can add all kinds of elements, and they're adding more to help it have a magazine kind of feel, which I really like that a lot. So those are some of the things that you can do with Substack. I'm very excited about the platform, and I'm very excited about where it's going. On the back end, they've added more analytics tools, so that way you can really see who's engaging, dive into, how can you re-engage people, and just different, like see like what's trending, what people are gravitating toward, and really kind of understand what's motivating your audience, and really kind of dive into those numbers to help you reach your goals. That's exciting too, that they're offering more tools along those lines. You asked also, like, how is it different than other email platforms? So
Mhm.
Substack is not, it's not like a replacement for Klaviyo or Mailchimp. Like, you can't do, like, it's not going to be the tool that you set up to do nurture series, for example, or it's not going to be the email platform that you use for transactions. That's not what Substack's about. It's really about creating community. And so, like, you have to think of it as a relational marketing tool and not a transactional marketing tool.
Well said, Ms. Sean. And what is the single most common mistake you see brands or professional makes when they come to Substack thinking it's just another marketing channel? And what happens when they treat like a blog instead of a relationship?
Absolutely. So the number one mistake that I see people making, whether they're individuals or brands, is they don't engage in the community. You have to, like Substack. So because Substack is a newsletter platform, the algorithm is designed to prioritize long-term relationships and encourage long-term relationships. And relationships aren't one-sided, so you really have to get into notes, and start interacting with people. So commenting, reposting, liking, all of those, all of that engagement and that interaction is really, really important. So I recommend, you don't have to. Remember back in the day when Twitter, like, you had to like try to post like 5 times a day, and you had to time it, and like it was just like you're just doing Twitter all day long. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
be that intense on Substack, but you do need to spend a little time every day just like interacting with people. Like I set aside 30 minutes, and you don't have to, I post like once a day or maybe sometimes just 3 times a week. So don't feel like you have to post multiple times a day. But I recommend just interacting with people every day. One of the most effective things that I'm seeing right now is to find maybe just like one or two Substacks that have like a good community and they publish, once a week at least, or maybe, you might find somebody who's publishing 2 or 3 times a week, and just get into their community and start commenting and be visible, be part of the room. It's like going to a party and networking, right? You don't want
Mhm.
to sit against the wall. You want to get out there and start mingling with people. So definitely get into the community. I've seen brands come on Substack and they just post and they never comment or engage with community, and their Substack newsletters don't go anywhere. It's the people who get in and start commenting, and it doesn't have to always be, being like the LinkedIn guru where you know it all. Just be real, just be human, have conversations that have nothing to do with your expertise or whatever you're writing about. Just make connections with people and just enjoy building relationships. And that is really what pays off with Substack.
Well well done, Miss Sean. And in Substack, can you add also your email list?
Yes, you can. So if you have an email list, you can import your email list into Substack. So and again,
Okay.
you own your email list. If you ever decided to leave the platform, you can download it. I also recommend like downloading your email list once a month. There was a story about a woman last year who somehow she accidentally deleted her entire newsletter, including her email list. So she lost it all. And that's
Hmm.
really devastating because she had quite a nice list of people. She had a good audience. So I recommend get into the habit of downloading your email list and saving it, in your cloud at least once a month. So that way you have a fresh list, and if anything happened, you have that as a backup.
Thank you for the tips, Miss Sean. And your Substack is about wardrobe adventure. That's not so obvious. Next, what is the surprise you most about who subscribes you and why? And what did they actually want from that you didn't expect to give?
That's also a good question. So I started my personal Substack as just like a creative outlet.
Mm.
And so I write about style, and I specifically write about rebuilding my wardrobe after weight loss. I lost 140 pounds. And
Hmm.
so you need a whole new wardrobe. Like there's nothing you can transfer from that weight to
Uh-huh.
I lost like 5 different dress sizes, so there's very little that I can continue to wear. So I have to build a whole new wardrobe, and so that's what I write about, and discovering style. And so what's really and I originally started writing for people like me who, like, I had weight loss surgery. I've taken weight loss medicines, all the popular GLP-1s. So I was writing for people who are going on that journey. And like, how do you discover your style? Because sometimes when you're in a larger body, you can feel really excluded from the fashion world. And then so when you finally are doing medical weight loss and you get to a size where you feel like, I started to feel like, oh wow, now I can finally, find clothes that I really like and I have more options. So what is my style? And so I started writing for that crowd. And I discovered as I started writing that other people who are on different types of journeys were reaching out to me. I've heard from people who have had mastectomies. I've heard from, and they've said, you know, having a mastectomy changed the way that I feel about my clothes and the way that I shop, and what kinds of pieces that I wear. And so that was like a transition for them, and my Substack has been a helpful space for them to talk about that. I recently have heard from people who are neurodivergent. A lot of people who are neurodivergent are very sensitive to textures and like things that we take for granted, like tags in the back of your clothes or seams, can really be irritating to them. And so they're actually brands of clothing that support people who are neurodivergent and need to get rid of all those sensory overload triggers. So that's been, a crowd that's gravitated toward me. I have an upcoming post about a woman who has vitiligo, which is an autoimmune disorder that changes your pigment. And she reached out to me. She's somebody I used to work with. And she reached out to me and she said, having vitiligo and, my skin tone changing so drastically has changed the way that I dress. And I was like, tell me more. So we had an interview, and so I'm going to post about her soon, post her story soon. But that's like another, like, I've been writing all about all kinds of ways that our bodies change and how that impacts how we dress and how we feel in our clothes. And so I'm really glad that there's now this like larger community of people talking about how we dress and how we feel and how we use clothes to express ourselves even as our bodies change, because everybody's bodies change. We all get older, so it's been a really good space and I love it.
Well said, Miss Shan. And to wrap up our discussion for today, what is the moment of transportation and newsletter, and why is that the real goal? Not just a getting opens or clicks. How do you know where you created one, and what is the example from your own writing or clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a moment of narrative transportation is a storytelling device. It's that point where you are following a story and you're hooked. You're finally hooked into you're like, I got to know what happens next. So, if you think of like, a common childhood stories are great examples for this. Like if you were example, we're going to use Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Like once you see, oh, she's gone into this house and she's in, in somebody else's space, and what's going to happen next, like those points of like, you got to figure out there's some conflict, something's coming. That's the narrative transportation. It's the point at which you can't put it down, right? Because it's so intriguing. And you don't that's not only just a storytelling device. You see it in movies all the time. If a movie doesn't hook you in the first 20 minutes, that narrative transportation hasn't happened, you're out, right? You're checked out. Like you're not going to pay attention to that movie anymore. To you it might be a bad movie because they haven't given you that moment of narrative transportation. So that's not just a storytelling or fiction device. You can put that in your newsletter, right? So you can create that by writing even if you're writing about your own life and your own story, think about what can you use to give people a moment of suspense or to hook them into thinking, I got to know what happens next, right? Like it's not just I went to go have coffee in Soho. Like, something has to happen, something intriguing has to happen, to you to hook people in. And there are other devices that you can use to hook people in too, so that they anticipate seeing your newsletter in their inbox every time. Everybody has inbox overload. How do you make sure that people stop and go, oh, I got to read her newsletter, I got to read his newsletter? In addition to the narrative, like constantly giving people that moment of narrative transportation in what you write, you can use some of the new Substack features that are kind of that magazine like, or even just create some images in Canva and, have them in the design of your newsletter so that when people see that design, they're like, oh, I got to see this newsletter. Austin Kleon is a great example of this. Like every one of his newsletters starts out with that blackout poem. So when I see
Mhm.
that blackout poem when I'm scrolling through my email, I'm like, oh, that's Austin. I gotta open it, right? So you can create that, and it becomes like a mental trigger, right? It's you're hitting on the dopamine and the brain chemicals that make people feel good. And that's what you want. You want to create positive associations with your newsletter.
Well, beautifully articulated, Ms. Shan. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your Substack? So, anything you want to promote on Abstract Essay?
Yes, thank you so much. So, my Substack newsletter, if you're interested in reading about fashion and how you find your personal style through all the body changes, my Substack newsletter is called Redressing at substack.com, or just go to Substack and search Redressing and you'll find me. And then, if you are interested in learning more about Substack, you can visit my website here, Brave Evelyn. I help solopreneurs high influence individuals and brands incorporate a Substack strategy into their content marketing strategies and content ecosystems.
Well, looking forward for more success, Miss Sean, and I'm inviting you to please do come over on Entrepreneurship 101 and let's talk about, well, entrepreneurship mindset. And
Excellent.
before I will let you go, I have one more question to you. If someone's listening to this and they are on the fence about starting a Substack, they have been thinking about for 6 months and they are afraid of putting themselves out there. They worried nobody will subscribe. What is the one thing you say to their either get them off the fence or save them from a mistake?
I would say go ahead and try it. Give yourself 30 days. It's just consider it an experiment. You don't have to commit. Just try it out and see if you like it. But don't just post and expect somebody to come. Post and then get into notes and start commenting and making friends. Just think of it as making friends, and see what happens. Give yourself 30 days and see what happens.
Yes, making friends, people. And Miss Sean, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show, and I wish everybody well who's listening to Abstract Essay.
Thank you so much. And Moticon people, see you soon. Miss